Shalom and good day all, this is Tehillim29 back again for another anime review, and in this anime review I'll be covering high-speed free starting days, which will be covered under free season 2.2, as this covers the one of the first movies in relation to the actual series. I'll give you a bit of a synopsis as to what it gives with, well, what I'm able to read here, of course. And the synopsis is, before they were making waves in high school, Haru and Makoto took their marks in junior high. There is a little bit more to it, but due to how well Crunchyroll actually shows their information, it would be nice if they actually gave some of these things a little bit more breathing space so you could read more of it. But that's neither here or there. Now, what I've done for this is I have broken it into 3 acts, to which I'll be speaking about the first, the second, and also the third act. Each of these acts are roughly around 36 to 37 minutes each, as we get a bit of an understanding of the time and the events that are taking place here within this story. So let's get started. So as we move into Act 1, it's 36 minutes. Within the story, beginning with Haru swimming at the local swim club, being the Iwatani Swim Club, where him and Makoto have swum the most, along with Nagisa. After the swimming, they then head off to school, to which Haru heads off to his classroom, to which we learn that whilst they have begun junior high, they are actually in different classrooms, but still good friends and classmates. And not long after that day, they return to the Iwatani Swim Club, to which we also catch up with the character of Nagisa, which was really nice to see within this story, because in this particular movie, Nagisa actually has to take a bit of a back seat, and we are more so focusing on the characters of Makoto as well as Haru. So with this continuing, they of course move on their way back home, to which we get to see some of the things that are occurring at Makoto's home place, which we see him catching up with his sibling. We are also introduced to the characters of Asahi and Kisuru, or Kisami, as they have also introduced themselves to Haru and Makoto. And of course, one of them wants them to join pretty much a sports club of sorts. And with this, they do have some members that are a part of a swim club, and know that these two have actually found out that these two have participated in swimming before, and therefore they want them to join the swim club. So as the days progress, Makoto talks about the sports and his thoughts of what's sort of like happening within the school. And whilst this is occurring, we move into the next couple of days, to which we have Makoto catches up with his classmates, to which we end up catching, we learned that Haru has a classmate which is related to the character who is basically the head of the present swim team at the school. We learn his name is Akuya, and because of this, there is a little bit of a heated discussion between the classmates, and a little bit of reactions that occur within this, to which, due to some of their reaction, they end up joining the swim club unknowingly. But now that they have sort of like committed to what they have said, they now must go ahead to do what they say they would. As this is occurring, we still have like basketball members trying to sort of like recruit Makato or Haru into their club. As the story goes a little bit further into progression, they end up meeting up with the character of Sarazawa, or now Sarazawa, who we learn who is also the instructor at the swim club and at the training, to which not long after this first act, they do start to attend training sessions at the swim club. So whilst at the swim club, we see that Akuya and his brother sort of like don't get along so well. We have Haru and Makato catch up once again with Nagisa at the Ki Iwatabi Swim Club, just to let them know what's happening. And I think it's also in this time that Nagisa also informs them that he'll be participating in something, and they do actually give their word that they will go to that. So as this is occurring, we learn that Asahi is now having some issues with his swimming, where before he was once swimming really good. His style has slightly gotten a little bit sloppy and needs to change because of like some of his mental and emotional struggles that are occurring in this particular part, to which whilst he's in the library, he ends up asking like another student who to which we actually get the first appearance of Ray. Now this is Ray before he sort of like joins in season 1, and we're sort of like seeing the events that take place before season 1 of the Free Iwatabi Swim Club. And whilst he's there, he's sort of like asks for some advice of what books to grab, and because of that, he ends up grabbing what books that he might need to help him. And of course, they do focus on swimming. So next day, we have Akuya sits and spends some time with Haru, and Kisumi and Asahi joins in a bit of a discussion, and that's a lot of the stuff that happens in Act 1. So as things take place within this story, we do, of course, have some more days go past. Now, this will actually occur in Act 2 as well, where more days go past between school days and what's also happening with the students at the school. So on one of these days, we have Haru, who gets called to take care of some class duties to which he's been rostered on. And whilst he is rostered to do some class duties, to take care of some things for the class, he ends up catching up with Kirishima, who is Ikuya's older brother, and also trying to understand why Ikuya is the way he is. Their situation, as he finally goes back to class, they eventually move back into swim training once again throughout those couple of days. And we also have Sarazawa, who also puts the team of Haru, Makato, Asahi, and Akuya into some special exercises for that day. First is helping on focus. The next is, or one of the other things is working on like their launches into the water, so they do that on time, and also improving their swimming skills within the story. So it's also during this time in Act 2 to which Haru learns that his dad has gotten injured, to which he ends up having basically a whole week to himself, but also with his neighbor Makoto Tachibana and his family sort of like checking up on him in this particular time period just to make sure that he's all right every day. Whilst this is occurring, Makoto is also making sure that he's getting the food that he needs, that is basically given to him by the neighbors, just to make sure that he gets what he needs to help with his swimming. Whilst this is occurring, there is a swim meet coming up, to which we end up catching up with the character of Sosuke, who is also a friend of Rin's. And during this particular talk, we do actually get to see like a little bit of a flashback which connects Rin and Sosuke together as to how they know each other, and also in connection to a letter to which Sosuke actually gives to Haru, but at this time Haru hasn't actually read the letter. So as things progress, they are now doing the best they can to make the club slowly, or make the team slowly grow stronger. Jumping into Act 3, which is roughly about 37 minutes long, because the overall time of this particular movie is about an hour and 50 minutes. As the days move on, the swim team of Haru, Makoto, Asahi, and Ikuya try harder at being more, working better as a team, to which this leads them to becoming better friends and overcoming personal and also group struggles. And it's whilst we see this take place that we get a bit of a deeper understanding as to how each character struggles. And I must admit, this was probably one of the best parts of this particular story. Oh, and whilst this is occurring, his mother ends up going out again, to which he gets some visitors come around to his house and also stay the night a few nights, being that of Makoto, Ikuya, and Asahi. And after this particular time that they spend together, they actually get to learn a little bit more about each other. Now, there was something in here that I thought was going to take place, but it didn't actually take place in this, and it had to do with something that I saw within the seasons that I've actually watched in relation to this, because I thought that there was going to be a scene in here to which we'd actually get to see a more personal scene between Haru and Ikuya, because we do see in some parts that they are slightly alike but not alike. But with this, it does actually help build the team, to which that they were able to perform better once the next lot of the next big swim event comes up, to which not long after the next swim event comes up, we have Haru reading the letter that Sosuke gave him, and we get to see the letter from Rin actually play out on the screen as to some of the things that he's going through. And in that letter, we see Haru being mentioned by name. We also are told by Sosuke that even Makoto is even mentioned by name in the letter. And we learn about Rin's experiences in Australia. So moving in, that is pretty much the end. It's now to cover some of the things that took place in this particular story. Now, I've got some things here, a bit of a list on my side, and I've got like times and events. So some of the times and events that took place, we had an entrance ceremony in relation to the first years. So basically, Haru, Makoto, we also learned that Ikuya and Asahi are basically the first years at their junior high school. We also have During this time, we also have Asahi meeting Rei in the library. We also have a breakthrough for Haru and Makato. Whilst this is happening, we learn that one of their swim instructors ends up in the hospital, being Serazawa for the team, and also Haru ends up in hospital, and friends also go around and visit them, and also we get a letter connected to Rin. Now, the key locations that took place in this particular story, there was, of course, the Iratabi Swim Club. We also got to see some of the homes in regards to the newer members that we actually see in this particular movie. So we got to see Haru's home, Makato's, Asahi's, even Akuya's. We also got to see Kirazawa's house. We also got to see the library as well as the hospital. That the cast of characters consisting of Haru, Makato. We got to meet the character Mochi, spelled Mochi. We, of course, had the return of Nagisa, who I think is becoming a bit of a favourite character of mine as to how involved he is with so many of the characters that are connected in this series. I wonder how that will go once I move into the review of Timeless Medley Part 1 and Part 2. One being Bonds and the other one being Promise. So I'm not too sure how much my view on that character will either increase or maybe even decrease. But I do like... It was interesting to see Nagisa as a bit of a supporting character in this particular story. Even though the times I have watched his character through the 3 series, he feels very much like a main. Of course, we have Rin, Asahi, Kisumi, Ikuya, Kirishima, Serazan. Oh, and I've already mentioned Rin twice, so cross that Rin off. We also have Sosuke, who is a schoolmate of Rin's, and last but not least, the character of Rei. Now it's time to move on to the next thing, and that is in regards to my afterthoughts of this particular story. With the first arc, I had to think to myself, was it the first arc really necessary for this story? And as I come to think about it, it actually is, because there is, I guess, quite a bit of disorder that takes place for there to order to sort of like be established around the second and third act. Then as we move into the third act, I really enjoyed seeing how Haru wanted to learn a little bit more about Akuya and the household that he's sort of brought up in. I also enjoyed how Makato played an important part to help Akuya understand that his older brother doesn't actually hate him. And seeing that Makato himself is an older brother with younger siblings, it really played well into the story, because it made him understand that, okay, you might have an older brother, you might have times to which you hate. It's a bit of a hate-love relationship between siblings, to which it can actually happen in a number of families. Then we move into the other 2 characters that now make up the team in this particular story and play a part of the main characters. We get to see how Asahi changes, and we also get to see how Ikuya changes, and it also, due to these changes, it improves in their swimming style, and also the time that they also got to know each other towards the end of the story, and got to know each other and be a bit of a proper team at the end. Yes, they might have gotten a loss earlier, so around the mid-act, but it was able to be made up by the time of the third act, to which they actually got a win together. Jumping into the next thing, and that is the area of the ratings for the characters. So for the main characters, I really enjoyed what they did here with the main characters, consisting of mainly Makato and Haru. It was a bit sad to sort of like see Nagisa take a back seat as a supporting character, but he was still a good supporting character. But meeting the other characters who would become the main characters alongside Haru and Makato, that being Akuya and also Asahi. The fact that, yes, you do see them struggle at the beginning, but as they start to move towards the middle and the end of the story, you really start to see how not only the team starts to work better together, but also how they start to work better together as friends. So for that, I give it an 8.5 out of 10. For the supporting characters, for this time around, yes, it was nice to see the supporting characters, and yes, they had a bit of a necessary part in this, but because of this, I gave the supporting characters a bit of a lower score at 8.5 out of 10. In the area of the animation, I don't know how this studio does it for the free series, but the animation is always consistent with the characters, whether it's the first season, second season, third season, whether it be the specials, and now beginning to move into the area of the movies. I'm really impressed with the animation in this. Is it perfect? No, but you know what? The way they make it work for the story is absolutely amazing. I give it an 8.5 out of 10. Next is the area of the soundtrack for this story. And I must admit, there were some times where I was a bit unsure if the soundtrack was going to work for this story. But as the story progressed, you could definitely see it either set the mood for a certain environment to even preparing the audience for something good to come, to which I give the soundtrack an 8 out of 10. Last but not least is the area of the main story. Now, with this, I had to think a little bit hard about each act and how I would rate each act. And for the overall story rating, I gave it an 8.5 out of 10. Well, until then, let's keep it colourful and have yourself an awesome day.
「笑って最後迎え